Well, hello people, and welcome to a brand new Cities Skylines 2 series on the Economy 2.0 patch. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I am playing on the Samui Island map, which is by the supremely talented Palms Time. I will leave this and the mods I am using all linked down below for your convenience if you're interested in playing along, or at least following this series for some kind of inspiration. For the first time now, the Paradox mods are available from the start, which allows us to play in a much more slow, detailed fashion, the way that I enjoy playing the game the most. And I would also like your guys' name suggestions for this city down below as well. We would pick the most voted during the series. Otherwise, let's start a brand new series in Cities Skylines 2, shall we? So welcome everyone to this beautiful island vista that we have to play with. Palms Time has done a wonderful job of building this. I believe it is based off of a real life kind of landscape in Thailand of actual Samui Island. But it's very nice anyway. It is down below. We have already checked this map out on one of our top 5 CS2 map videos as well, so you can check those out down below as well, along with a bunch of other series. But welcome everyone. So we start out here. This is where I'm going to choose to start. Now I am playing with unlock all map tiles due to the ridiculous new tile upkeep fee. That does unlock all map tiles for us, but if you want to choose to play with the tile upkeep, then you can. But either way, we have a very enticing road over here, okay? So let's start laying down our first initial road network. I'm going to come into medium roads, and we're going to grab our 4-lane road first of all. And I can envision this going kind of down here. Now let's turn on our topography overlay. Yeah, so there's a bit of a mountain here, isn't there? So I'd quite like to see the road kind of respect this curve here. And then maybe we can send it off down the coastline to go over there somewhere in the very distant future. So let's do that. So we'll come into the middle of our road. So we want to turn off our zoning cell length there. That's what's going to cause us not to snap directly in the middle. And then drawing off of 180 degrees angle there, I just want to come down to about this sort of point. I think I will come back to zoning cell length once I've started drawing out. That way we'll get the zoning cell increments. Let's do 544 meters that way. And then we will also take a curve here. And let's set up a 80-meter curve. Do the same here. Carry on straight for a little. And then we'll see if we can mimic that. We also want to turn off snap to the surface of an object here. These new Anarchy tools will be a little bit difficult if you leave that on. So if you're snapping to the tops of trees when you're drawing your roads, it is that snapping option that does it. Cool. So that can go off another 88 meters, and then we'll leave that. Come down towards the coast-ish. And then I reckon it can curve off again. And go over toward the coast in that sort of way. So we use this as kind of the border and the boundary for our first town here. I'm thinking we're going to put a big detailed beach here. Maybe some mansion houses up on the hill here too. But maybe we can save that for episode 2. We'll kind of see what happens here today. So now we have this big road in. Let's come in and grab our small roads. So we have our 2-lane road here. And I think we'll just draw this out of the junction here where the 2-lane road joins the 4. And we can do some clever lane maths around there with asymmetry in a second too. So my initial town is going to fill this space here. So let's just draw up some basic frames. I want this road to come directly up to the top, where it will then follow the curvature of the river. And just a quick shout out for Instant Gaming as well. You can find super cheap codes that do help support the channel. You can find DLCs and games for all of your favourite genres, including Cities, Sims 4 and Planet Zoo. So if you missed a game in the last few years or have been holding off on grabbing a DLC, check Instant Gaming because chances are you'll find it for very cheap. So thank you very much if you do end up using it. Let's get back to the video. Something like that. Now I believe from my map research we also have fertile land here. Yeah, we do got a lot of fertile land actually. So maybe some farms here, some modded farms might be quite fun. Over in this space, sit by the new town. I think that'll look great, won't it? Especially separated by the river there too. Very exciting. I'm really looking forward to slowing down in CS2 and just experiencing a really nice, just slow, detailed start to the game. So across my waterfront here, which will eventually be a waterfront of course, I'd like some, I think, larger grid frames. So I'm just going to do some very basic things here. I know a lot of people struggle with broken zoning in CS2. Really what tends to ruin it is road guidelines, because you just want to make sure you're snapped into the same orientated grid If we, for example, were to draw off here, obviously that's kind of a bit of an extreme example, but, you know, we can see that the grids are now aligned differently. So connecting, you know, that one into that is going to fracture the grids. So you just want to make sure you're drawing out from the same grid orientation every time, really. We're going to get some pretty zonable spaces up here. We will also do some plopping in this series as well. We are playing with Plop The Growables. Cool. So we'll have that there. And that's going to be my main waterfront, and then the roads behind we're going to link through to the main arterial. Make sure we're coming through perfectly there. Again, you can see, because this one was perfectly curved in like a perfectly measured 88-meter curve, it is still the same grid orientation, it's just rotated by 90 degrees. So hopefully that makes sense. It really just comes down to getting experience with it, to be honest. Cool, so now let's discuss what's going to happen here. So we're going to have a lot of residentials around here, so the obvious thing to do would be get back-to-back zoning, but I think that can be quite awkward with low-density residential. I think it makes them look too big sometimes. So I'm going to purposely adjust the zonings here, though, so that I'm playing with kind of 3 to 4 deep houses. So I want my first houses here, and a bit of space behind, maybe 4 deep or 3, and then another 4 behind it. So let's make sure we align our roads to configure that shape. So that's going to be 3 deep there. We'll go for 4s, I think. So let's do 4 space, and then 4 more. So we want our road coming out here. So what that will achieve is when we come to do our let's do beach properties here, I think, specific zoning. So we could do 4, leave the space, and then 4 again, and that's just going to really help condense our low density residential, because I think the 6 deeps can just sometimes fill an inordinate amount of space, which makes it look a little bit weird, especially when I'm trying to achieve a smaller town vibe here rather than like an outer lying metropolitan suburb, for example. So hopefully that makes sense as to what we're trying to achieve there with that. So we'll also have this continue in a number of ways as well. I would also like some larger road access coming up from the main road. So let's keep that going too. That can go all the way up there. And we'll bring it into a grid frame. Probably about there is good. Yeah, be happy with that. I'd like to save some more of these alley configurations, especially for this space here. So let's make sure we do it again. Maybe let's try a different depth this time. Let's do 3 deep. So we can have 3 there. That'll be the gap, the 3 there. So that's the block we want to draw on. And making sure I'm staying with these grids so my zoning doesn't shatter. And then, for example, in this space, obviously we'll do this a little bit faster elsewhere. Let's save 3 empty on this side, leave the gap in the middle, and then 3 there, and then you can see how it will develop. So that'll just really help condense down our initial residential. And that block's a little long for me as well, so let's also bring an alleyway up through the middle of that too. And then maybe into some of these spaces, and we can fill some kind of cul-de-sac designs around here, right, with a little roundabout on the edge of some of these alleyway roads. And then we can get this zoned up, right? So that's going to be where our residential sits. We'll have our commercial and a bit of mixed use along here, I imagine. Saving room for some services around here too. Maybe we can develop a bit of a school in this area now. So let's turn our attention towards the waterfront. So I'd like to have some pedestrian roads down here too. I'd also like another road coming out as well. So let's bring this one down. Now, I mentioned I would like some kind of richer mansions on this island here, kind of maybe sat slightly elevated on the topography, but looking back over toward the beach of the town there, right? And of course, once we forest brush all these trees away anyway, you'll be able to see it as well. So hopefully that should be quite fun. We'll see how it turns out anyway. So that road will become that road, and we'll bring our topography view back on. So just where it starts to rise, really, that's when I'd like to see it kind of go around the coast. So we'll leave that there to function as that road. Let's grab some pedestrian roads next. So I'd love a pedestrian road coming probably down here actually, because we'll tie it in with this kind of main road going through the town. So I might even actually upgrade this to 4-lane. We might make that kind of a larger priority system, we'll see. So let's have the pedestrian road come out. I'll do it by 112 meters. And then I'd like it to kind of go off toward the beach a little bit further. And then we'll stick another little roundabout on that. I really do like ending the pedestrian roads with the roundabout. Makes them look a little more finished, you know. So we'll have that there as well. That'd be great pedestrian access down here for the townsfolk. Cool, so this is really giving me my initial town structure here. And then I'd also like another road coming down to the beach from this entry point, I think. And I'd like this to serve as access to some car parking, I think. So we'll take that down there in that sort of fashion. And then this will leave us some space on the front to build some sports parks, a pool maybe as well, plus lots of beach detailing. That really completes my waterfront. I'm going to be happy with that configuration, I think. And we will just sketch out some more of these alleyway roads as I expect the residential to come into them. Fabulous. So I think for my initial zoning structure, this should seals through, I think. So this is obviously commercial office and residential space over here with recreation, but we haven't really designated any space for industry. So we mentioned having farming over here, but that won't be our first area. So the first thing we want to have a look at really is power. So wind power would be nicer here. Can we possibly explore our wind strength? It's quite low over here, although closer to the highway is a little more realistic. I would ideally like to go for this rather than the coal. The coal wouldn't look too bad sat here, but I think I'd rather fill this with another kind of industrial building, maybe kind of garbage processing or something, rather than the coal power plant. But with that in mind, let's give our windy friends a little go, shall we? So we might have to put you a bit of a ways down from the city, but I think I'd be happy with some highway side wind turbines here. So how much is the power plant? That's going to be 100,000. These are 25,000 each, okay. Let's have one here. And I would like to respect their boundary. Of course, we can just turn Anarchy on to bypass that, which you can also do with Control and A. By the way, we'll turn Anarchy on and off. But that should do it, I think. We'll go for 2. Let's also, of course, wire them in. So we want to grab our electric cables. We want to come underground for these, and then let's link them together. And we'll take the shortest possible route into the city here, which we won't have underneath there because they don't have the lights on them. Let's hook it into that one, and then we'll also hook that into the actual highway. And then we can prepare this one just by coming in like so. Wonderful. So that gives us our power, and of course we can really expand that wind farm as the demand increases. We'll probably place a power plant when we look to export it, and importing the power via the new services or the new policy is very expensive, so we won't be doing that just yet either. Next up is water and sewage. So let's first of all have a look at water. So groundwater pumper I do like, and they are cheaper than the water towers. But of course, these do have to sit within a groundwater deposit, and there's a ton of groundwater here, isn't there? And if we're going to use this for farming, it would make sense as well. So I think with that in mind then, let's go for groundwater pumping station rather than the water tower. So I want to bring out a little road here. It just has to be, I think we even use a gravel road. Just going to bring it straight off the highway. We can probably factor this into our farm entrance as well, which we'll probably work on next episode, I think. I always like to do that specialized industry second. So we'll have our groundwater pumping station there, and that's delicious. Let's also grab sewage and water pipes here, because of course they won't have them over this way. We will keep them under the road, because of course we don't have to worry about nodes anymore, do we, in CS2? So right down the road, and get the back in there. And you should have a power connection, yep, so you will be powered as well. So that is our groundwater pumping station. That takes care of our water. We can develop more of a build around this as well at some point. Actually, that'll be a really nice asset to have right up by the highway, won't it? And driving past that smaller town industrial infrastructure on your way into the town. I really like how that sits there, actually. Best bit of the episode. Okay, and then let's also grab our sewage outlet too. And where do we want this? Of course, the direction of flow is very important here. We don't want to be forcing sewage into our lovely beach. And unfortunately, a lot of the direction actually is kind of pushing inland, isn't it? Which is a real shame. Of course, this will only be a temporary solution. And we'll get the wastewater treatment plant as soon as we can. It's not going to be for a little while yet, though, is it? And given the new Economy 2.0 upkeeps, it's going to be expensive too. Okay, so let's do sewage outlet. I mean, I guess over here is going to be fine. Yeah, the flow of water is really irritating here. It pushes back on itself immediately. I really just don't want that coming into the bay. So I think I'm going to stick sewage over here. And we'll worry about that at a later date. So let's grab the sewage line, and this just needs to come over there. Super. So that's connected in now, and that is all of our resources. We still have quite a bit left to spend, but just due to the new upkeeps of Economy 2.0, I would like to have a little bit of leeway here with just the amount of money that things cost these days. So I think with that set up, that is all of our initial services. We have our power set up and hooked into the city, which is important. Both sewage and water have now been taken care of. So let's use the forest brush now just to clear things up so we can start to have a clearer idea of what's going to happen. So let's come into our landscaping menu here, and we want to click on vegetation. And when you have the tree controller mod installed, you will have this menu on your left here, alongside the line tool if you are also playing with the line tool mod, which you should be. So let's change into our tree brush here, which is place multiple. And this little snapping option here, this remove only matching type, we want to unselect this. Because that means that if I was to use my forest brush with wild green bush selected, and I right click to remove trees, it is only going to remove wild green bush. If I unselect this and then right click, I can remove everything. And we can also increase the strength, of which will change the rate it removes things, which is really good for just kind of clearing an area of those initial starting trees if you're not planning to use them, of course. Don't do this if you want the natural forest to remain. I will put my own trees in, but for right now, I just want a much clearer picture of what's going to happen, kind of in my initial road frame, okay? I'd like to leave some trees around the edge of the beach as well, but maybe this little area here can be cleared up. And super. So let's return to our road frame now. So I'd just like to give kind of a dedicated turn here, I think, for people wanting to get back out of the city. And some asymmetry coming into the area here too. So let's upgrade our road here with a asymmetrical turn. And we'll have it facing into the junction. And we'll do that one up there. And then I'm going to grab a one-way road, and let's grab our complex curve. Now we could take it up that way. Let's see if we were to draw this up. We could do 116 meters by 116 there. So I think we'll drag that out. That should be okay. And then I'd also like to have a little bit of asymmetry on this road here as well, facing the other way, so that people merging out can join on with people coming out this way. And then it will condense back down into 2-lane as it leaves the town and joins the national highways back over here again. So I'm happy with that. But we do have some nodes like this. You can see this crosswalk is a little odd. Probably would turn this crossing off anyway with road tools, but I'll show the example of here with Move It. If we switch to manipulation mode, with Move It, you can see these purple lines appear on the road. This is essentially a little bit of node controller function built into the road. You can kind of see how you can push back some of the nodes. Now, it's not the most intuitive thing. It does take a little while to get used to. Let's also delete that tree in the road there. So you can go start doing this if you want. It's an acquired art. It does take a little while to get used to. But you can essentially just adjust the angles of the crossings, right? Just node control it, isn't it? Those familiar with CS1 will know what we're looking at here in terms of node controller. So this wider junction just at the start of the town here is going to help people feed off. So I'm happy with that. Planning in some industrial space, I think we'll bring an alleyway road off of the highway here too. And I'd also wouldn't be averse to a little bit developing here in this pocket by the river. So with that in mind, let's also drag a new road down here. And we'll just have it generally fill the space near the entrance to the town. And we'll probably do some finer plopping in here, I think, at some point. Fantastic. So with just over 160 grand spent, I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. So now we have our road frame down, I'd like to just talk about how we're going to build this city out. So for certain assets and certain corners, I am going to use FindIt and Plop The Growables to place these. So this is the FindIt mod, this search function here. It is absolutely worth getting, pretty much essential quality of life. You can grab all your props, trees, vehicles from here, any building you want. It's amazing. Easily one of the best mods ever made. Get FindIt. And then to place my buildings in the fashion I am and have them work within the economy, I am using Plop The Growables. So for the entrance to my town here, I think it's pretty standard, isn't it? I would love a gas station. I think a petrol station would be wonderful on the corner. So let's come into our FindIt. I would like to filter down for gas in my search feature here, and we just want to find one that we like, really. So I think I'd prefer a larger one. I would love that gas sign facing kind of into the road there. How about in that first one we've landed on might just be perfect there. So currently there's no company here, but the building is here for them to use if they want. Now, when we have commercial demand and I let the game play, a company will move in here, and it will function the same as me zoning up next door a low density building that looks something like that. Okay, so it's the same process, it's the same function. You do need Plop The Growables mod to do that, but it's absolutely worth doing because you can really help refine your city. Let's also go ahead and get the rest of these residential districts painted up. So with these ones here, I'm not bothered if they spawn maybe a 4x3, but I just want to make sure I leave room for kind of the standard pattern to complete across the rest of the district, just like this. So for those wondering, I am using the European low density waterfront housing for that. But let's let the game play now. So I'd like commercial to operate all through here too. And again, when we come across a corner that we don't like, we do have the ability now, thanks to the mods, to just change that and make it like how we want, basically. You already see some patterns developing here, so I think I'm actually going to shave off the edges and just allow them to regrow facing the waterfront, I think. Don't mind them facing on the internal roads, maybe down this one. But I think for the rest of the districts, let's just let them all face the water, I think. Same on this road again too. Let's have these guys facing there. Super. So our first people are on the way in, which is tremendously exciting. Also got some industry demand available now too. So let's bring this up against the start of our town. So we definitely will do some more custom industry details, but for right now, we really just want to get the start of the city set up. So let's grab some industrial zones, and we're going to try detail around these zones, so let's get some larger blocks in there. I do have groundwater here, but I'm never going to use it, so I can pollute the land, essentially. We'll have that there. But also, like, some smaller units here, so let's maybe do 3 units on this side. It doesn't always have to be these larger factory units, you know. So when we do generate the larger buildings, we can detail around these yards, you know. That's where we can have our fun with some of the industry. And of course, at some point, we will eventually do some more plopped specific industry builds, oil, forestry, farming, and mining, for example. But for this initial starting industry, this should suffice us, I think. Everyone's going to start growing up here. We'll have some more commercial facing. This direction here is a bit of a border to the town, so I think we'll prepare that as well. Let's have this one grow up this way. I think I'd also like to have a pathway coming through there as well. And we'll save this space for our first service too. So let's come into our pathways. We do have all the different types of path and invisible parking available to us via the mods. So again, don't forget to get them down below. I'm pretty sure we can share on Paradox mods now, can't we? I'll be able to share my playset with you. And I am also using Skype if anyone else is using it. You can grab the JSON file in the Discord if you're interested again, which is linked down below. So let's get those pathways coming across there too. Going to be great, isn't it? And this will flourish. Hopefully we'll start in our first Sims in the not too distant future. But there we go. That's our first one. I think it is indeed. Let's follow them to their destination. The Serrano family. Serrano ham, perhaps? Caitlin Serrano is driving. She has 3 people with her. They're going to come in here. She's going to take the exit. Take that left turn on the asymmetrical road. Very nice. When we unlock our turns as well, we can remove the right turn from there, so they have to go this way. So they're coming into a wonderful new waterfront house here. I think the European waterfront was definitely the way to go there, wasn't it? Really nice housing. I have actually come to quite enjoy the European waterfront stuff. They are nice assets. And there we go, into the garage. Wonderful. So the Serrano family is the first one in. And there's many more to come, it would seem. So lots more residential demand coming in. Let's make sure we get that in. I don't want the residential spanning too far away. Let's have a look at our topography as to what's going to happen with this foothill here. I would like to have my high school around here, I think. So why don't we switch the orientation of some of our housing here? We still got some room to fill this way, so let's make sure we do that. Let's have another set of 4 deeps over this way. And now all these have grown in on the corner, we can just go ahead and fill them in. You can plop these as well, if you like. Again, you can filter for the exact size of asset you need. For me, plopping like this is a little bit annoying when we don't have the Alt-V shortcut we had in CS1 for those modded veterans that do remember that. Just realised I'm zoning in the wrong type of zoning here. Let's change that up. So plenty more new houses coming in here, which is great. Our waterfront is really growing up too. Yeah, so really happy with the corner asset like that, you know? That's a great corner there, isn't it? If we don't want our buildings to change and level up, it's important that we lock their level here. So let's grab our move it function, and I think you'd be better just on that corner there, right? I think I'm happy with that. That does free up a zone, but it's going to be a little bit too narrow. So I think I'll use that as an opportunity to introduce a little bit of backstreet parking down here, which might be quite nice. So we're currently losing 1,263. Or 254. It is slowly coming down with those initial people coming in, but it's just about keeping on top of these early demands. Get some larger buildings around here too. We're looking forward to having all the industrial vehicles, the detailed industrial area like this with for the first time. We get some fence along here as well, of course. Make it look really cute. But yeah, so let's do some parking, shall we? So let's come into our landscaping tools. So these are the invisible road networks. They are very cool, and they essentially just are invisible roads, which is just brilliant, to be honest. So let's build some of our first custom parking. So let's grab our invisible 2-way road path, and then we'll have this come up there. So with these, you don't actually want to draw them out of the road. You just want to have them on the tile next to the road, so you can see those 2 little green markers. You can see it on the commercial buildings as well. It's how the Sims navigate that space, okay? And now with this one here, we have our parking next to it. And I'd love to have this go off in 32-meter increments either side. And then we'll connect back with that invisible pathway. Just want this to come out on the angle. And that's perfect. But obviously, this looks weird as hell because it's parking on grass, which is where the wonderful extra surfaces come in useful. But thanks to the actual landscaping tools mod, we now have pavement surface here, and we can grab all these surfaces that are convenient. We've got brick surface, there's concrete surfaces, all the sands we need, just glorious. Like all those new tiles, wowzers, look at those. I am also playing with some decal packs as well. We've got wood surfaces, wood guys, like so good. Really looking forward to just building this slow, like just methodical pattern. So now we can draw on our concrete essentially. So if we hit this button here for show hide markers, we'll be able to see exactly where it is our invisible markers are. Now I can see I haven't actually drawn that one on there, have I? Let's make sure we actually place it. There we go. So now we can follow these, right? We just got our first milestone, wonderful. See, we only get 25 grand now. How much better is that? No more showering us in the hundreds of thousands and the millions with those milestones. So we get 25 grand for that. And we are slowly climbing out of the red, slowly but surely, but we're doing some detailing, so people will have to wait to live here, essentially, because I'm building detailed parking lots. So yeah, when we have this option here, tick for show markers, we can see where we need to draw our concrete to. Now this is absolutely fabulous because it allows us to make just these wonderful little custom parking areas in so many different shapes and sizes. Now, I was a huge fan of Surface Painter in CS1. I didn't really see how they could make it better, to be honest, but these drawable surfaces are really something else. So now we have this here. Let's go ahead and throw down some trees. Let's get some poplars in. Make sure to come off of our brush for this. And let's do one. So we can turn Anarchy on here as well. We'll get this also set up too. And now I can see where I'd just like some commercial to complement my back of the park in here. So let's come back into our ploppables. And I can see I've got like 3 tiles to work with. So why don't we search for a 3x3 commercial? I'd like this to be one of our low buildings. And then let's just grab something that we like the look of. Why don't we have one there? And then let's do a 4x3 somewhere. Let's have that one there. And maybe a 2x3. And then you can just fill that space as you need it, you know? It's very, very cool. it's just awesome. A totally new way to play the detailed game with like very few and quite uncomplicated mods as well. I would like to add, it's not like we're using, you know, kind of procedural object madness here to set this sort of stuff up. It's very simple. And we can do a pathway there, but it will look a little odd with the way it connects. So we could use this as an opportunity really to show off the invisible pathways. So back in our networks, we also have invisible pedestrian pathway, which is exactly what it says on the tin, essentially. So I want to connect it into my parking area here, and then just have it come down to touch that district again, okay? And you can even do the same here. Why don't we set up a little brick surface, right? So show our markers again, we can see where that is. And then why don't we just have a little brick walkway to introduce our car park? Then with a little tree pattern around it, why don't we grab some oaks? I'm hoping the city behind us is fine. We are really focused on detail in here. Then maybe a couple of alders, right, and the occasional smaller cultivated bush. And all of a sudden, how much better is that than just a regular plopped car park, right? And I got this kind of authentic space behind us. We can do more surface paint around here if we feel like it's needed. And everyone's just happy. And I'm really happy with this configuration around the car park as well. So I'm going to take the time just to lock everything off here, you know, using this little lock button up here in the menu. I'm not sure what mod adds this. I think it's Plop The Growables. I will confirm that during the edit, if you are wondering. Okay. So now we have our first little custom block of commercial here. Parking, which people are already using, which is great to see, isn't it? So, love that block. So during that detailing, we did hit the next milestone. So now we have some new things to place. That is going to drain our budget, which is very nearly positive. Although we do have the arrow disappeared for some reason. Maybe that'll come back. We hope it will anyway. So let's have a look at our first one, which of course is going to be the med clinic. So we can place this down. Now, we don't have any 6 citizens yet. There's currently 1 death per month, so maybe we can hold off on placing that. And next up, we do also have the cemetery. Now, this is a big old boy. It's absolutely massive, and I don't really want it in here yet, to be totally honest. I'd rather have this maybe down the line when we build kind of a larger center. So obviously the alternative to death care, which is a pretty important amenity to supply, is the crematorium, which is a much more kind of tasteful asset. So I think I'd like to get our crematorium in first, and we can do some really nice detailing around this as well. But I'm going to spend my first development point here on the crematorium. I'm going to grab that one. Now we have it. So it's slightly cheaper as well in upkeep, I believe, isn't it, than the cemetery. So let's place this down. So I did earmark this space initially for a school, didn't I? But I wouldn't mind marking some of it off as a little bit of a graveyard. So why don't we draw out a alleyway road here. And let's grab our crematorium. And I'd like to place this pretty much centrally in there. Something like that. I'd also like a entrance off of it coming up from this road as well, I think. So let's turn off our zoning cell length. I really want to line it up without the grid snap either. I'm aware I'm going to shatter my zone in here, but this won't be a zoned area, so it doesn't matter. Let's have that right in the middle, and then we'll connect that in there. Super. And we can probably trim that off. So this does have some upgrades, doesn't it? It has an additional incinerator, which we don't need yet. And then it also has the hearse garage as well, which we can now place, of course, away from the building given the new Economy 3.0 update. So maybe when we do need this additional building, we can just place it across the road here, you know? I think that's what we'll do eventually, but we don't need those just yet. That's going to be more than enough. So I'd love to earmark this as a bit of a cemetery for the town. So let's mark that off with some fencing. Now in our props here, let's come out of our building filters. We can search for, I think it's headstone, is it? No, it's tombstone, yeah. So we have all these tombstone props, right? So these are the ones off of the actual cemetery asset. And there's also tombstone random down here. So if we were to put this on our line tool, and let's bring that increment obviously much further down. See that every time we draw it out, we have a random headstone, which is brilliant for making these little custom graveyards. So I'm more than happy to have people, well, I guess these would be urns really, wouldn't they, rather than graves. But I'm more than happy to have this here. So we can fill this whole space with a graveyard. So we want to draw, I guess, should they face the building? I guess they probably, I guess, does it matter? I'm trying to think now. I guess graves don't always face the church, do they? So I guess we'll put them this way and we'll do 20 meters. And this way we'll have our gravestones all in a row. And then it's a case of just repeating that from left to right. Now, unfortunately, Move It doesn't have its copy-paste function in yet, which is a little bit annoying, but hopefully that's not too far away. And then I just want to now introduce these little 20-meter stretches of headstone that we can use to fill a little bit of green space in the town. That's going to give it so much more personality as well, rather than one of those massive graveyards. And it doesn't have to be enormous. Take it for as large as you want. I also wouldn't mind also including the fire station here too, to kind of function like it's like a church. You know, we've used that idea before, but we don't have access to fire and rescue yet, not till milestone 3. So just something to consider, you know, just using my crematorium. You could almost use that as a town hall as well. I'm sure we'll use that in our series as like a little bit of like an administration office for a smaller town, because it definitely suits it, doesn't it? And then let's give ourselves a little bit of fencing. Let's grab some net lanes. We'll grab our fence networks. And I think I'm going to be more than happy with a little bit of hedging around my graveyard, to be totally honest. And you know, we'll do some more extravagant things in our detailing time lapse through here. I can also see now where I actually quite like that alleyway to continue. Let's bring all our snapping back on, besides snap to surface. We don't want that with roads. And then that can go down, and I'll do something with that down the line, you know? We can have all these little wonderful customizable green spaces. And then let's have our hedge run probably this way. Let's take it, yeah, all the way around the back here. And having these networks in is just absolutely game-changing. Crazy what a bit of fencing, what a difference it makes to a city, isn't it? So I'll box all that in. I'd love to see some trees around that already. I can already imagine some big granddaddy oaks knocking around my graveyard. But we'll finish it off in our detailing time lapse, of course. And you know, now we can make much more of a song and dance and just have so much more fun with these personalized spaces, with the mods and the FindIts and the props and the fully grown trees and the fences, and it's just gorgeous. Absolutely love it. So that's our death care for our city, okay? We can have that there, and like I said, I'll probably bring in the church over there too. So I think I'm going to avoid placing the medical center at first. I'm just going to wait until someone whinges of it. So we'll get there eventually. Now, I wouldn't also mind some row housing in and around my main street. Definitely kind of smaller blocks of the European stuff. So let's do some Euro. And because some of these at level 5 are quite nice. I'd like to mix this in with commercial as well. So let's grab some of those commercial blocks. Again, I am quite happy to zone commercial, even though there's no demand for it at the minute, but it'll pop in when it does grow up anyway. It doesn't fill the space I want it to, we need to delete it. And then let's also continue to bring in some of these European waterfront houses too. For this part of the city. Looks like everyone's grown up around here as well. Because the services are so much more expensive now, so back to -1,000 after placing our death care, and we're going to go even more into the red once we've placed our medical center as well, once people do start to complain for it. So again, lots more 4 deep houses here, so hopefully now you can start to see the effect running with those smaller low density zones has. You do just get a much more condensed suburb rather than the 6 deeps. You really do notice those saved tiles toward the end. A bit more industry demand there as well. Now we can also see we do have medium density demand, which of course is satisfied by row housing and apartments. Now we don't actually have apartments unlocked yet. I think it's till milestone 2, isn't it? Yeah. But there's nothing that stops us from being able to plop these assets down, you know? So let's go ahead and zone up the buildings here. I'm going to grab all this commercial here and just slide it along, which gives me a little 2 deep zone in here now, where we can dive into FindIt again, and we will grab our search filters. I would like housing, I would like residential, and I would like a medium building in here too. And then I want probably something 2x4. And then I just like one of these cute little European apartments, nothing too tall. Something like that. I think it should be pretty special. And now we can have that apartment in already. So people have already moved into it, which is great. And now we can just have a little bit of height on our waterfront, which I'd definitely like to have a little bit more of. We've got another opportunity for it here, haven't we? This one's a little bit bigger, so maybe we can get a slightly taller apartment building in there. So why don't we go for a 4x4 filter this time? Well, not 24x4. That would be huge. Let's just do 4x4 and probably something like that. I reckon's perfect, isn't it? That's going to be wonderful. Again, I'm going to lock these 2 buildings so they don't change. Buildings in £2,000 now. We could come into our services. I'm sure we're overproducing water, I imagine. We are indeed. So we can bring water down. We've also got power too. Yeah, so let's have a look at our services. So with roads, we don't really need to worry too much about them. And we can bring the budget down, as we don't need as much. And we can also increase the service fee. So we don't want to increase it too much because we don't want to make them unhappy. Right now, they have not the best happiness in the world. So I want to bring this slider up until I get -1. Well, just about -1. So a 7% or 114% service fee for me will just not affect citizen happiness, but give me a little bit more income as well. Do the same things as well for water and sewage. I don't need nearly as much sewage as I'm paying for. And I can also charge a service fee. Not so much this time with the water. 108% gives me slightly more money, but it does allow me to also maintain citizen happiness. And then with death care, again, we don't need that at the minute. Very expensive, isn't it? So let's bring that down to 65%. And of course, just keep an eye for any warnings that pop up of people complaining, of things you need to fix, but those values should give us a pretty sensible adjustment to the economy there. There you go, -338 now, which is super helpful, isn't it? Some people using and walking around our new parking lots here too. Very nice. I love seeing that. I'd love to start plopping some more apartments here. Now, we could delve into the realm of mixed use. Again, I don't want to get too much into plopping, but I can appreciate maybe the occasional little mixed use tower here, especially on the corner like that. And then maybe let's pop back into residential. Let's also remove our size filter here too. See if we can be a little bit more sporadic. Yeah, I just like some more of these apartments here. Now, these buildings are really nice. These little 3x2 residentials. So why don't we have a look at creating a little custom apartment block here, maybe? Definitely got the room to do it. So we could bring that down there. That shouldn't disturb anyone's zoning too much. Should be okay. And then let's come back into our search filter. So it's this little 3x2 one, wasn't it? Why don't we have one alternating there? That one's a little large for what I'm after for this particular district. But there's no reason a little shop couldn't actually nestle in next door there as well. A couple of little 2x3 and 2x2 numbers to keep us happy. I think I'd be happy with that there. So we're just going to carry on zoning up our low density around here, all facing out toward the river, which will be a really nice part of the city one day, won't it? We'll develop a nice walk down here, lots of rocks, overgrowth, etc. It'll be a lot of fun. So I know I'm going to save this space roughly for a high school and its appropriate upgrades, so we won't fill too much of this over here. But either way, I would like to carry on moving up toward some of those higher milestone levels. So let's take a look at this space over here. I wouldn't mind just bringing in some of the road frame ideas we've already utilized, just to have some housing around this side of the island. We do have the hill here. There is a possibility we build something up here one day. Wouldn't mind having a little gravel road, maybe switch back up here, so we can allow our roads to do that. Let's have you go down there for a little bit, and then we'll have this one. I'll tell you what, that's going to be a great connection there, isn't it? Let's turn on our Anarchy, and I'm not super bothered about perfect frames here. There we go. Then we can connect that in. And then where we're down by the water, I wouldn't mind doing some of the 6 deep houses over this way. Just because these would be a little nicer this close to the water. I don't want to encroach too much upon the mansion and beach territory, which we'll do next episode. I keep promising a lot of things for next episode. It's going to be a big one, clearly, isn't it? Cool. So there we go. Starting to make a little bit of money now. You do have to be so much more careful. In the Economy 2.0 patch, things are just incredibly expensive. And let's just leave our game to run. We're starting to make money now here. Of course, these guys are all going to continue to level up as well as they continue to gain wealth. We're getting some of our European houses in here now as well to add to our density in the centre of town, which I'm happy with. So now we're starting to get some people whinge about healthcare. Let's have a look at our healthcare stats again. So we have 1 sick and injured. Why don't we go ahead then and make this part of our town? We could have it directly opposite the graveyard. Could do that. And then of course it has its own extensions as well at the back of that then, doesn't it? We could have the extension wing over here. We could also knock it on the main road over here as well if we wanted to now. Of course the new extendable options are very nice, and the garage we don't need either yet, do we? I think we will go for our midpoint now. This will hurt our budget again a little bit, of course, because this isn't a cheap building. But we do have our services adjusted on healthcare, so it shouldn't be that much of a sting. In terms of taxation, we're not doing too bad at the minute. We're still growing, so I think we'll leave everyone on 10%. It should be okay. And there is milestone too, absolutely wonderful. Let's have a look what that brings. There we go, so that does give us those medium density options now, which is really important. We also get education, where we can now build our first school as well. Wonderful. So where do we want our first school? Could also put it here, where we did have some of those houses, but to be honest, I'm more than happy to remove some of them to allow the school to be located here. And then we'll just give it a little bit of breathing room as well. There we go. Yeah, and then things we've done before in our series. How much is the playground? That's going to sit and fit there, isn't it? We'll do that. It's going to give 10% well-being, which is good. I know we don't need the extension or the children's clinic yet, but I would definitely be happy to extend some more of those services. And again, during our detailing time lapse, all this space just becomes infinitely more detailable with joining pathways across stuff like this. Extend it out maybe where we could possibly squeeze up here. Something like that. Then create a bit of a walkway through there. Let's go ahead and grab some trees as well. I would like us to remain a little bit tropical here maybe, so definitely like to see the use of palms. So maybe a little palm row. Let's do 15. Always like to keep in increments of 3 with the line tool. Cool. And then maybe we can get a little custom car park over here as well for the school. We can have that occupy our main street, which is going to be quite a nice building, isn't it? Now that does push us ever so slightly back into the red. So let's see if we can adjust any more of our service fees. We can bring this down a little bit for service efficiency, which shouldn't nerf it too badly. Yeah, we should still be okay with that. And then, of course, with that, we did also unlock the medium density options. So I'd love to zone some of these in. Of course, we'll zone the ones we already have here. Where do we want more height to appear? I wouldn't mind an apartment building on this corner. Let's make sure we are in European. We will use a mix of both themes. I do think both sorts of assets both have their place, but I think for right now, we'll just go with European. I do tend to prefer the look of the buildings, I think. Maybe a little bit more medium density in there too. And have we got a little space there? Can we get a 2x2? We can indeed. We'll have that there. Really love that corner asset there. It's a very nice introduction to the corner, isn't it? So we've still got so much more low density residential demand as well. So let's move into a little time lapse here, just while we sketch out some more frames to fulfill that demand. But we just unlock one of those villas, which we will use in the episode along the cliff face here, I think. So that allows us to sketch in some more residential. This will all grow up too. And I think, do I want to fill? I think I might bring in a little bit more of this medium density warehousing. Maybe have the whole block as this, because once this reaches level 5, these assets tend to get really nice. And I think it'll be a nice transition into our apartment blocks that'll end up occupying a lot of the coast space here. Didn't get into that. Keep satisfying demands anyway. I wouldn't mind quite a chungus apartment block there if we can get him to grow as 1. Yes, we can. This one is in now as well, which is alright. We might let him level up a little bit. Of course, we are going to do something with this road here, aren't we? Probably with the fire station here to function as that church. We'll get some more custom parking spaces in here as well during our time lapse. We do have some more development points to utilize. Let's have a look what we can possibly grab. Roundabouts aren't a priority right now. Advanced road services would be useful. Now, we've yet to place any recycling, any kind of garbage collection. Now, the landfill is massive. But yeah, the recycling centre's not even an option yet, is it? I was thinking maybe we could do the recycling centre, but no, landfill is the only option for right now. So I could put it over here. We did want these deleting, didn't we? But I'm worried this is going to poison the same water source that our groundwater is on. So I think for the time being, we're going to actually place this quite far from the town. We're going to come out to like here, and then we're going to have it up near our pollutive water pipe over here as well, the sewage. And again, at a later date, we'll kind of turn our attention back toward these dirty industries and say, right, okay, where are these more appropriately located? So let's bring everyone down 90-degree angles here. He has all of his needs. He should do if he's on the roads. Everyone should be happy. And then here come our garbage trucks. I wouldn't be averse, you know, to giving them a faster access back onto the highway at some point. But I guess we'll kind of see when we get there. And I guess we should also make this a slightly faster road for them, shouldn't we? Let's make sure it is at least gravel down there. Cool. We're planning for infrastructure later down the line here. Otherwise, we've still got things growing up here. All those residential houses are filling out now too. I hope we can see now that blanket of smaller homes, I think, has much more of an impact, doesn't it? I really like it. So again, we'll also bring down our garbage budget too. Just not something we need right now. And we'll also bring the healthcare budget down a little bit as well, I think. And with those taxations, I think we'll bump up residential a little. Let's see if we can earn some slightly more money. We'll also do industry up to 13, although I don't want to nerf too much of the demand, so important we just notice how this affects them. We can maybe even push our luck a little bit further with residential. How's that affecting our happiness too? -4, but everything else is balancing out, so this should be alright. And this should start to reduce our deficit down a little bit, so back to -664 now with all those services placed down, so we are gradually balancing. We've got some larger buildings here, haven't we? Yeah, I don't mind that one. I think I'm pretty happy with that. All new people arriving here as well, absolutely fantastic. Ambulance driving around the main street here too. Yeah, so I think with those development points, we'll probably just end up saving them. I don't think we don't really need anything right now. Guess we can grab advanced road services because I did actually want to remove the right turn from here, didn't I? So let's do that as well. Cool. So if they are turning right out of here, they need to take the slip lane. They can't actually take the right there either. So let's get more row homes in, and then I think we're not really too far away from our first detailing time lapse right now, I think, because we've got a lot of space to fill around here. I did want to get the beach done in today's episode, but this episode is going to be way too long, so we'll do the whole beach and park area on the front with our rich mountain houses on the peninsula here next episode too. But we'll watch those row homes go in, but either way we've got a lot more space to plop around here. I want to do some more plopping of apartment buildings to fill these spaces, so we have a nice little kind of mini authentic waterfront around here. Maybe a little bit of mixed use as well. I know we haven't quite unlocked it yet, but we can still plop it. And then all the little space around here with more headstones. And just keep bringing in those demands to try and get ourselves back in the green. We're not too far away from it now. Maybe some more tweaking of the taxes might help. We can tax those residences quite highly alongside the industry too. So we'll keep refining, keep going, but let's do some detailing of our initial town structure, and then we'll be right back. And just like clockwork, at the end of our detailing, we do hit the 4th milestone of Grand Village. So currently at the end of the detailing, we are sat with our budget just about positive. It's a real tight, squeaky bum time with the new services now, but you can get there eventually. We haven't taken any loans, which is unusual, but we do have this option available should we need a bit of extra longer. Our current taxes are at 15, 12, 14 and 13% respectively for the RCI, and our services pretty much at most things at 50%, with service fees increased as well. So that does give us just about enough wiggle room to remain positive, whilst also maintaining the city's services. They're just expanded around the school where it makes sense, with custom parking areas occupying all these spaces. Become more custom parking against the church, which is on a little angle now facing into the graveyard, and just allowing some open green space to remain within the town centre, and which really draws your eye up toward the graveyard, doesn't it? Do have more texture work through here, as if it's just a well-trodden path, up to some maintenance sheds that a groundskeeper might make use of perhaps. And then we come into our town centre, where there's a myriad of mixed use over here as well now, which really adds a nice bit of tasteful height into the skyline. It also placed our police station, which happened to just perfectly sit and fit around here, which was very tasteful. And we'll definitely spend that second episode exploring the Mansion Peninsula and using the waterfront here to develop a massive beach park, which we have already prepped for by grabbing some of those development points. We have grabbed park maintenance and sports parks ready for next episode as well. Further into this area, we just have more trees, a little bit of prop work around here, as our commercial blends into various different apartment blocks. There's further work through here. This is a drivable parking space here where people can park around. And then little tiny parks nestled into squares with decals and benches, little gazebos and huts and covers and whatnot for children to make use of. And then we come back into the entrance of the city here, where we do have a little bit of texture work with a planter as it leaves the city over this way. And then there are little bits of custom parking knocking about in the industry, but we'll definitely spend more time over here customizing it a little bit more. And then also just experimenting with some dirty riverbanks, allowing the grass to peel back in certain places, and just seeing what we can really do with these textures. We begin to explore a much more detailed and a methodical approach to starting the early game in cities and beyond that as well. And I really like the entrance into the town as well. So we'll spend next episode working on the peninsula with the mansions and then the beach there as well. But otherwise, massive shout out to all the patrons supporting the channel. Don't forget to check out the instant game on it, by the way. If you are missing Cities 2, get it for a great price, which does help support the channel. Otherwise, really happy with this super slow, detailed start. Definitely looking forward to continue it. If you have, don't forget to subscribe for lots more Cities Skylines 1 and 2 content alongside other city builders that take our fancy too. And don't forget to get those name suggestions down below for the city. Otherwise, let's thank you all so much for watching. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day.